The moment you begin asking better questions, you also begin noticing things that were invisible before. Your attention shifts, your decisions become more intentional, your emotions become easier to understand. Your life starts moving in a different direction, not because the world changed, but because your perspective did. Have you ever stopped to wonder whether the biggest obstacle in your life isn't a lack of answers, but the questions you've been asking yourself all along? Think about that for a moment. Every decision you've ever made, every belief you've ever defended, every fear you've ever carried began with a question, whether you realized it or not. Some questions push us toward growth. Others quietly trap us inside the same patterns for years. The difference between wisdom and confusion is often not found in the answers we receive, but in the questions we choose to ask. Thousands of years ago, one man understood this better than almost anyone else. His name was Socrates. He didn't build an empire. He didn't command an army. He didn't leave behind a fortune. Yet more than 2,000 years later, people still study his ideas because he discovered something timeless about the human mind. He believed that most people were not suffering because they lacked intelligence. They were suffering because they stopped questioning what they thought they already knew. And maybe so are we. We live in a world overflowing with information. Every day we are surrounded by opinions, advice, headlines, social media posts, podcasts, books, and endless videos telling us how to think, how to succeed, how to become happier, richer, and more confident. But with all this information available, why do so many people still feel lost? Why do so many intelligent people make decisions they later regret? Why do so many of us repeat the same mistakes, even when we know better? Perhaps the problem isn't that we don't have enough answers. Perhaps we've simply stopped asking the right questions. Imagine walking through a dense forest at midnight. The moon is hidden behind thick clouds. Every tree looks the same. Every direction feels uncertain. You desperately want someone to tell you which path to follow. But what if the real problem isn't that nobody gave you a map? What if you've been asking the wrong person for directions? Or even worse, what if you've never questioned whether the path you're following is actually yours? That is the kind of thinking Socrates invited people into. He wasn't interested in giving people comfortable answers. He wanted to wake them up. Instead of telling people what to believe, he asked questions that forced them to examine their own beliefs. Sometimes those questions made people uncomfortable. Sometimes they became frustrated. Sometimes they even became angry, not because Socrates insulted them, but because honest questions have a strange power. They expose the places where certainty is only an illusion. Have you ever been absolutely convinced you were right, only to discover later that you had completely misunderstood the situation? Maybe it happened during an argument. Maybe it happened in a relationship. Maybe it happened at work. Or maybe it happened inside your own mind. You spent years believing something about yourself. I'm not smart enough. I'll never succeed. I'm too late. I always fail. But have you ever stopped and asked, who told me that? Where did this belief come from? Is it actually true? Or have I simply repeated it so many times that it feels true? Those questions can completely change the direction of a person's life. Modern psychology explains something remarkably similar. Our brains naturally create stories to make sense of the world. These stories help us predict danger, understand people, and make decisions quickly. Most of the time, that ability serves us well. But sometimes those stories become invisible prisons. A single painful experience becomes, nobody can be trusted. One failure becomes, I'll never be successful. One rejection becomes, I'm not worthy. Without realizing it, we stop questioning the story. We simply accept it as reality. And once a story becomes reality in our minds, our behavior begins to follow it. We avoid opportunities. We hesitate to speak. We expect disappointment. We notice only the evidence that supports what we already believe. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. Socrates observed the same pattern centuries before psychology even existed. He recognized that people naturally search for evidence that protects their existing beliefs rather than challenging them. That's why he asked questions instead of giving lectures. Questions bypass the walls our minds build. Think about a child. Children ask endless questions. Why is the sky blue? Why do birds fly? Why do people get old? Why? Why? Children aren't embarrassed by curiosity. Adults often are. Somewhere along the journey of growing up, many of us quietly replace curiosity with certainty. We begin pretending we already know enough. We stop asking. We stop wondering. We stop exploring. And without realizing it, we stop growing. Maybe that's why some of the wisest people you've ever met rarely rush to give answers. Instead, they pause. They listen. And then they ask one simple question that changes everything. Not because they already know the answer, but because they understand that the right question has the power to unlock an entirely new way of seeing the world. What if your greatest breakthrough isn't waiting inside another book? What if it isn't hidden inside another motivational speech? What if it begins the moment you become brave enough to question the story you've been telling yourself for years? Because every transformation begins in the same place, not with certainty, but with curiosity. Curiosity is where every meaningful transformation begins. But curiosity alone is not enough. The real question is this: what do you do once you've become curious? This is where Socrates separated himself from almost everyone around him. He understood that asking questions wasn't about proving someone wrong. It wasn't about sounding intelligent or winning debates. It was about peeling away layer after layer of assumptions until the truth could finally be seen. Imagine an artist standing before a block of marble. Most people see nothing more than a heavy stone. The artist sees a masterpiece trapped inside. Every strike of the chisel removes something unnecessary until the sculpture slowly reveals itself. Socrates believed questions worked the same way. Every honest question chips away at illusion. Every thoughtful question removes another layer of fear, pride, assumption, or misunderstanding, until eventually you begin to see yourself more clearly. Think about how often we rush to conclusions. Someone doesn't reply to your message. They must be ignoring me. A friend cancels your plans. They probably don't value our friendship. You fail an interview. I'm simply not good enough. But are those facts? Or are they stories your mind created to fill the silence? Our brains dislike uncertainty. Psychologists have discovered that when information is missing, the mind naturally fills in the blanks. Unfortunately, those imagined explanations are often influenced by fear rather than reality. Socrates understood this long before neuroscience existed. Instead of accepting the first explanation that came to mind, he encouraged people to ask another question. What evidence do I actually have? That single question can calm an anxious mind. It separates imagination from reality. It creates space between emotion and truth. And in that space, wisdom begins to grow. Imagine standing beside a calm lake under the moonlight. When the water is disturbed, the reflection becomes distorted. You cannot clearly see your own face. But when the water becomes still, everything becomes clear. Questions have the same effect on the human mind. The right question doesn't create confusion. It settles it. It slows your thinking just enough to let truth rise to the surface. That is something our modern world desperately needs. Today, speed is rewarded. People are expected to respond instantly. We react before understanding. We judge before listening. We argue before asking. Yet some of the greatest mistakes in history and in our own lives have happened because someone acted before taking time to question their assumptions. How different would your life be if you paused just a little longer? If before making an important decision you asked, what am I overlooking? What assumptions am I making? What would someone with a completely different perspective notice? Those questions don't make you weak. They make you wiser. Socrates never claimed to possess all the answers. In fact, one of his most famous ideas was surprisingly humble. He believed true wisdom begins when we recognize the limits of our own knowledge. That isn't weakness, it's freedom. Because the moment you admit you don't know everything, you become capable of learning anything. Think about the people who inspire you most. Are they the ones who always insist they're right? Or are they the ones who remain open, curious, and willing to learn? Confidence and curiosity are not enemies. Real confidence grows from curiosity. It comes from knowing that your worth isn't threatened by discovering you were wrong. Instead, every mistake becomes another teacher. Every challenge becomes another classroom. Every conversation becomes another opportunity to grow. This shift changes more than your thinking. It changes your relationships. Imagine speaking with someone whose opinion is completely different from yours. Most people immediately begin preparing their response. They're waiting for their turn to speak. But what if you simply asked, "What experiences led you to believe that?" Suddenly the conversation changes. Understanding replaces defensiveness. Listening replaces assumption. Connection becomes possible. Questions build bridges where arguments build walls. This lesson applies just as powerfully to the conversations you have with yourself. Many people wake up already carrying invisible judgments. I'm behind. I'm not successful enough. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm not talented. But imagine replacing every one of those statements with a question. What small step can I take today? What skill can I improve? What opportunity have I been ignoring because of fear? What if I'm more capable than I realize? Do you notice what happens? The mind immediately begins searching for solutions instead of evidence for failure. This is one of the most powerful principles in psychology. Your brain responds to the questions you repeatedly ask. Ask empowering questions. It searches for empowering answers. Ask hopeless questions. It searches for hopeless evidence. You are constantly training your own attention. The quality of your attention shapes the quality of your life. Perhaps that's why successful people often seem calmer during uncertainty. It's not because they possess magical confidence. It's because they've learned to ask different questions. When others ask, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What is this situation trying to teach me?" When others ask, "What if everything goes wrong?" they ask, "What can I control right now?" When others ask, "Am I good enough?" they ask, "How can I become better than I was yesterday?" Notice the difference. The circumstances may remain exactly the same, but the direction of the mind completely changes. Socrates believed that an unexamined life is not worth living. Those words have echoed across centuries because they point toward a truth that remains just as relevant today. A life lived on autopilot eventually becomes a life directed by habits, assumptions, and borrowed beliefs. An examined life, however, becomes intentional. It becomes meaningful. It becomes your own. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this journey is that no one else can ask these questions for you. Friends can encourage you. Books can inspire you. Teachers can guide you. But only you can honestly examine your own heart. Only you can challenge the beliefs you've accepted without evidence. Only you can choose curiosity over certainty. And once you begin asking those deeper questions, you'll discover that the person changing isn't the world around you. It's you. And that is where the greatest transformation begins. Not on the day you find every answer, but on the day you stop being afraid of the questions. Most people spend their lives searching for certainty. They want guarantees before they take the first step. They want proof before they believe in themselves. They want to know exactly how everything will turn out before they dare to begin. But life has never worked that way. No explorer ever discovered a new land because they already knew what was waiting beyond the horizon. No inventor created something remarkable because success was guaranteed. No meaningful relationship was built without the courage to step into uncertainty. Growth has always required curiosity, and curiosity begins with a question. Perhaps that's why the most fulfilled people are not those who have eliminated uncertainty from their lives. They are the ones who have learned to walk through uncertainty with an open mind. Think about your own journey. There were moments you thought would break you forever, disappointments that felt unbearable, failures that convinced you your dreams were over, people who walked away, plans that fell apart, doors that never opened. At the time, those experiences probably felt like the end of the story. But look at you now. You're still here. You've learned things you could never have learned without those difficult seasons. You've become stronger in ways your younger self could never have imagined. What changed? The past didn't change. Your perspective did. Somewhere along the way, the questions changed. Instead of asking, why is life against me? You began asking, what is life trying to teach me? Instead of asking, why did this happen? You began asking, how can I grow from this? You began asking, how can I grow from this? Those questions quietly reshaped your future. That is the hidden power Socrates wanted every person to discover. The quality of your life is deeply connected to the quality of your thinking. And the quality of your thinking is deeply connected to the quality of your questions. Imagine waking up tomorrow with a simple commitment. Not to become perfect. Not to suddenly have everything figured out, but to become just 1% more curious than you were yesterday. Imagine beginning your morning by asking, what kind of person do I want to be today? Before reacting to criticism, asking, what can I learn from this? Before making a difficult decision, asking, will this choice move me closer to the person I want to become? Before going to bed each night, asking, what did today teach me about myself? These aren't complicated questions. Yet asked consistently, they slowly transform the way you think, speak, decide, and live. The greatest changes in life rarely happen overnight. They happen quietly, one conversation, one reflection, one decision, one question at a time. Socrates understood something our modern world often forgets. Wisdom isn't measured by how much information you can memorize. It's measured by how honestly you examine your own life. In a world where everyone wants to speak, choose to listen. In a world where everyone wants to be certain, choose to stay curious. In a world where everyone is rushing toward answers, be the person willing to pause long enough to ask a better question. Because sometimes the answer you've been searching for isn't hidden somewhere far away. It's hidden beneath an assumption you've never questioned. Maybe the fear you've carried for years isn't a fact. Maybe it's simply a conclusion you reached long ago without enough evidence. Maybe the limitation you've accepted isn't real. Maybe it's only a story repeated so often that it began to feel true. And if a story can be learned, it can also be rewritten. That is one of the most hopeful truths about being human. You are not trapped by yesterday's thinking. Every new question creates the possibility of a new future. So today I want to leave you with a challenge inspired by Socrates himself. Before you search for another answer, ask yourself one question you've been avoiding. Not the easy question, the honest one, the one that makes you pause, the one that makes you uncomfortable, the one that quietly whispers beneath the noise of everyday life. Maybe it's, what am I pretending not to know? What fear has been making my decisions? What excuse have I been calling reality? What dream have I abandoned because I doubted myself? Or perhaps the most powerful question of all, if nothing were holding me back, who could I become? Don't answer too quickly. Carry that question with you. Take it into your next conversation, your next challenge, your next opportunity. Let it sit in your mind like a seed, because the right question has a remarkable way of continuing its work long after the conversation ends. That is why Socrates remains one of history's greatest teachers. Not because he gave humanity all the answers, but because he taught us how to think, how to reflect, how to question, and ultimately, how to grow. If this message encouraged you to see yourself and your life from a new perspective, then you're exactly the kind of thinker this community is built for. Subscribe to Thoughts Opener and become part of a growing community dedicated to timeless philosophy, modern psychology, and practical wisdom for everyday life. Every week, we explore powerful ideas that challenge the way we think, strengthen our character, and help us build a life of purpose, one thought at a time. Share this video with someone who is searching for clarity. Leave a comment below and tell us, what is one question that changed your life, or one question you're going to start asking yourself today? Your reflection could inspire someone else to begin their own journey. Remember, the greatest minds in history didn't become wise because they knew all the answers. They became wise because they never stopped asking better questions. Until next time, protect your peace, challenge your thinking, and never stop growing. This is Thoughts Opener. Build slowly, build honestly, build permanently.